morning. Monday. For some of you, it's still Sunday night. But for me, it is Monday, the 1st of September. When we start new things, I like to start with purpose. I like to start with focus. So let's get started with September. I pray that this month is for most of you what I hope it will be for me. What I hope for September to be is a review of my 2025 routines and my outcomes, to see where I have taken wins and where I have wasted opportunities, where I could have been better but haven't been, and so on, so that I can refine my systems for 2026. But okay, let's get started. I want to talk to you about work-life balance and the confusion that seems to exist around it. It is something that is propagated by people, often harmlessly, but can do a lot of harm if the audience is not discerning. For example, usually if you speak to people like me who are mid-age and you ask us about what our regrets in life will be, what we will tell you is around not relaxing more in our youth, not resting more in our youth. And now, right now, I can dare to say foolishness like that to you. Why? Because I'm telling you that in the comfort of a home that I own. I'm telling you that because I have already done most of the things I want to do for my children. The outcomes I wanted to achieve are mostly in place. And so from this position, you can get the luxurious behavior of wishing you had relaxed some more. You have those regrets from the comfort of the achievements of the choices that you made, but sometimes you forget, and so you don't share this. The younger people listening to people like me speak like that will start squandering their youth. No, don't squander your youth. Your 20s are not for playing. Don't listen to any of that nonsense. Your 20s are for establishment. If you are successful in establishing in your 20s, oh, it bears you up properly. So me, in my 20s, I wanted to be a homeowner. I was a homeowner in my 20s. I wanted to establish a career in my 20s. I had a career in my 20s that I could build in my 30s. And now I can destroy by my own hands in my 40s. By the time I come to 50, I expect to have totally annihilated my career and be buying some freedoms. But you see, when we reflect, sometimes we forget to do so responsibly. Relax. Do what you enjoy. No, don't do what you enjoy. Do what feeds you and puts a roof over your table, over your head. Food on your table, a roof over your head. Do what does that. Do what sets you up so you do not need to beg your fellow man for crumbs. Do whatever it takes for you to be able to mind your affairs as a responsible adult, so that you can maintain your agency. That's what you do. Do that. Do that so that you don't ever need to take your private affairs to people. That's what you do. And if you take your time to look at the research on successful people, every time I bring this up, people are like, "What? I do not know how to operate the television in my house. I have not watched television, really, seriously, that I turned on for almost 2 decades. I have not." And yes, there was a period where I watched stupid television. I used to watch Takeshi's Castle, Tipping Point, and this and that and that. And in that time, all I was a school teacher, and all my outcomes were limited to the school teacher's capacity. And you know, I knew what financial struggle really meant, because I had one stream of income that was inadequate. What is this one doing? I had one stream of income. That stream of income was not good enough to meet my needs, and so I found myself needing to augment, to top up. I had a lot of explanations to give a lot of people when I needed bailouts and so on. And then I switched off the television. When I switched off the television, I started studying. So I will come from work. I needed to maintain my job. I will come from work. and I would go straight into reading, researching, writing, whatever happened to be, doing my assignments, whatever. I did not have time to be spending on any television, because I read somewhere that the very people who will be successful were focused on learning and development, and the ones who will be left behind, they were entertaining. Actually, one of the texts that shocked me the most says that the people who were going to move and shake of the future had big libraries, or they had big collections of books. They had access to learning. Those people, the ones that were going to get left behind, they had the biggest television sets. And when I read that, I started looking from my own living room. My husband and I owned a huge television set. We did. At that time, getting the best, the latest television was one of the things that we had been caught in. We had 2 young children, so they could watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse on a large television. We owned a big television. And I realized that I spent quite a lot of time behind that large television. That thing I read said that television was for people who were already made. It was for retirees. People who were retired did not get up and go to work. They already had money. They already had accomplishments. They already had accolades. They were done, and they were here enjoying what they have already built. Those people sit behind the television. They entertain themselves. They relax with a bottle of wine. They do whatever. Those people were here to enjoy the fruits of their labor. That's what they were doing. So the person who wrote this particular thing asked, do you have any fruits to enjoy? Then continue behind the television. In fact, whilst you are watching television, add a bottle of wine, add some grapes and some cheese, and you have got a good combo. If you don't have any fruits to enjoy, you have no business being there doing that. And it shocked me to the core, because at that time I had no accolades. I had my teaching certificate, and that was it. It became so clear to me that if I didn't do anything, I would be stuck in the classroom at the lowest rank of the teaching hierarchy, earning scraps, being able to do very little for myself and for my children. Or I could spend the next few years digging myself out. And for me, digging myself out was getting the multiple certifications. So I went and recertified to get the multiple teaching certificates, so I could then be a triple science teacher. When I became a triple science teacher, I could negotiate pay. I could, for the first time, speak to schools and tell them, well, when you get me, you get more than one teacher. I am able to step in here, step in there, and so let's talk about negotiated pay. I was, for the first time, in a position to negotiate my pay when I got the triple certification. Then I realized people who had a master's had a little bit of an advantage over me. And I thought, well, no, I'm not just going to do a master's. I'm going to do the postgraduate diploma first. It will allow me to get more modules in. I did one on coaching and mentorship. That's one of the best things I have done in my career, actually. So I went and I did that module on coaching and mentorship plus something else, and I got myself a brand spanking new postgraduate diploma. And then I went on from the postgraduate diploma to do the master's in education. Then eventually I figured out we might as well go to the very, very top. Again, now when I walk into rooms and people address me in my full title, sometimes I myself, I'm like, yeah. It's wonderful to step into a place as a Dr. Amfugrobe. It's a huge advancement on Mrs. Amfugrobe. It is still Amfugrobe, but completely different. But you see, now I am in a position to be able to, especially academically, I'm in a position to be able to sit in spaces and enjoy my worth. And when you sit in spaces to enjoy your worth, you can actually cross your legs and enjoy the show. I don't need to be the one running. I don't need to be the one spinning. I can enjoy a little bit. Again, At this stage in my life, if you speak to me, I would tell you that work-life balance is the most important thing, because it is the most important thing to me at this time. Now I am reading stupid wolf stories. Yeah, werewolf romance is my latest obsession. I am reading like a fish. I am back to exactly what I used to be as a teenager. I was a crazy reader as a teenager. For the last 20 years, I was not a nothing reader. The only type of reading I did was functional reading. I was reading textbooks, I was reading manuals, I was reading Atomic Habits, I was reading to discover what I could use to move my life on. And yes, at this time in my life, in my twilight years, if I don't accomplish anything new in my life, you know, I can live with that. Yeah, if my career doesn't go any further, I can live with that. If I do not get any other certification to my name, a doctorate degree is more than enough. I have hit terminal on that one. So right now what I need is to be writing articles, potentially getting into some university, maybe build a career as an academic, that maybe. But even if I don't build that career, I have already built a career as an academic in the secondary school, done 20 years of it. Thank you very much. If I do not have any further accolades in my life, I can live with that. My children are in university. They are almost done with that one. Give me another couple of years. I will have no financial responsibility. I own my home, so I don't pay any significant rent, except when I decide to live in places like this. But when I live in places like this, my rent is also covered predominantly. But if I were to pick my bag and go home, I have multiple places I can call home, where I do not need to pay a dime in rent or mortgage to no one. I own my home. My accommodation is covered. All we need, all my husband and I really need to think about, is to buy food. Well, we are all approaching diabetes if we are not careful. How much food can we eat? Not much. Don't eat rice. Don't eat corn. This one causes inflammation. This one causes aggravation. This one causes... We cannot eat a lot of things. He went to see a new dietitian, and the dietitian is augmenting things. Change all your oils to olive oil. Don't tell you. Palm oil is not good for you. I'm like, what? Palm oil is not good for you. Coconut oil is not even the best. It's not good. Don't have canola oil. Sunflower is terrible. Sunflower oil. Oh, don't eat vegetable oil. Yes. At the moment, we have a long list of don't eat and don't do's. I mean, how much money could we need to satisfy this very basic, limited life that people are describing for us? How much food can we eat? Not much. So what you will hear from foolish people who are at this stage in our lives is utterances like, well, you don't need to push much. Life is really simple. You just need very little. Honey, a person will tell you things like that from the comfort of a home they own. And if you are not careful, you will jump on that one. You will take it hook, line, and sinker. They would not do that from any place of malice, but they will do you a lot of harm if you don't apply common sense. Some of you are busy trying to save to put down a deposit for a mortgage, and you will meet an irresponsible woman like me. At this stage in my life, what I want to do now is travel. Yeah. I was talking to a colleague last week, and then I became self-aware. And then I backtracked very quickly, and I explained to the person, listen, don't listen to the nonsense I just said from the perspective you are coming from, because you and I have 20 years difference in age. What you need to do and what I need to do are completely different. You are not married yet, she says no. You don't own anything yet, she says no. Good. You need to focus on owning something. I own some things. What I need is to focus on living, especially the last 5 years. I have spent the last 5 years focusing on the children. Every dime. This summer, I have made quite a lot of money, and I have not dared touch a dime of that money. The reason why I have not dared touch a dime of that money is because it's going into the children's school fees and this and that. When you have done an episode of that, all your mind wants is to be able to do retribution. My mind wants to spend some of my own money doing things that I enjoy. Not because it makes any sense, not because it makes any financial sense, not because of nothing else except the fact that I have worked hard and I want to play. So guess what? I want to travel. For me, whatever I have left over at the moment can be spent on travel, because I do not need to put down on a mortgage deposit. In fact, right now I'm trying to sell a house that I already own, that I have owned for the last 10 something years. That house no longer serves me a purpose and I'm trying to shift it. That's what I'm trying to do. When you speak to a person like me who is done with acquisition and now I am offloading, if you ask me, I will tell you acquisition doesn't make sense. Yeah, acquisition does not make sense to me because I already own. I own a little bit too much for comfort. And so I am trying to sell some to liquidate so that I can feed the stage in my life where I just want to enjoy the fruit of my labor. You should not listen to a person like me for life advice, for career advice, if you do not operate in the same system. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to my irresponsible cousins tell you that you should relax more. No, you only relax more after you have attained something. You only relax more after you have achieved something. You only relax more when your acquisition is done, baby. That's when you relax. No, don't relax before you achieve. That's a bit silly. That's very silly, in fact. Not just a bit. But you can easily be swayed by people's advice if you do not take their times and seasons in perspective. You see me living in the desert in my spaghetti straps in September because it is stupidly hot in my desert. Honey, if you live in Europe, by now you should start layering up. The temperature is beginning to drop. When you go shopping with me, I went shopping with a friend of mine not too long ago, and as we were buying stuff, I was buying to come to the Middle East, she was buying to go to Europe, and we were looking at styles. Obviously, I know that I've got to buy thin straps that I can just put a blazer on here, and then I will be cool. The blazers I was looking for were mainly cotton and linen. I was looking for light fabrics, things that can still cover me up so that I can be decent for this place without overheating. And I selected one thing, she selected the same. I selected another thing, she selected the same. I couldn't help myself, so I said to my friend, you do know that I'm buying because of where I am taking it to. And you do know that that doesn't serve you. That's when my friend became self-aware. She said, oh my God, yeah. No, you might want to look at the thicker fabrics. You might want to. You might actually want to buy the tops that cover you up a little bit more. You and I are friends. We are here buying, but we are not buying for the same period. Not for the same seasons, are we? Yeah, that's what you ought to learn how to do. You ought to be aware of your own seasons and your times, and be very aware of what is required in your own times and seasons, so you can do what is required for you and not just follow the crowd. If you follow the crowd blindly, you will end up in very strange circumstances. You would. Listen to advice. It is helpful, but also know that you've got to frame advice. You've got to frame it. You've got to frame the advice based on who is giving you the advice. Is the person even qualified to give you the advice? And yes, as somebody at my age right now, I can give you advice based on what happened in my youth. I'm probably qualified because I have lived. That's only one dimension. Is the advice qualified? Is it coming from a successful person that you aspire to be? Then that person's advice may be qualified. However, you've got to frame it again. That person is giving you that advice based on where they are at in life and where their thinking is. Is your life at the same spot and in the same thinking? I was talking to a friend of mine who says that she was emptying her accounts to go and do an investment. And in fact, when she empties her account and she goes to do it, she's done it and it's doing really well. She's making money. But there were 3 friends at the same time. This friend of ours has never married, has no children. She is a sole entity. She's been in the workforce almost 30 years and has worked for herself. She has not paid a dime of school fees for nothing. A lot of the income she has earned in this period is locked in investments and it's sitting in places for her. My other friend and I are both married with children. She is a single mother. I am a married woman, but I am a married woman who also makes a very meaningful contribution to my family. So very similar. We pay a lot of our wages into our family systems. Yes, we were classmates. We know each other. We have been mates for a long time. However, our income has been raising a family. Our income has been paying for other people. Our income has been committed. And so our savings accounts are empty. My other friend has younger children in the UK. So she doesn't pay school fees. Her children attend the local comprehensive. My children are in the university in the UK. And because of the way I chose to live, we do not get some of these bursaries and stuff that other people get for their children. So yeah, they are British. They are in British universities, but we do still pay their school fees and their accommodation. And we do pay for their living expenses. That's a lot. That is an awful lot. So this friend says she's going to empty her bank account, and the other one is saying, well, I don't have as much as you do, but I would be able to lock in my 3 salaries for this summer, and I will be able to do so. I said nothing. Both of them turned around and they're like, you're not saying anything. I'm like, I cannot play this game of yours. And both of them are like, oh, but that's not like you. You are normally very decisive. And I'm like, that hasn't changed. I'm still very, very decisive and strategic. And that's the reason why this game you are playing, I cannot play. So they asked me why. Okay. I have got to raise almost £30,000 in the next 3 months. These same 3 months that you are, yes, the money you are looking for, I probably can command it. I can find it from my systems, but I cannot put it to any investments yet because I need that money within the 3 months. The investments will probably pay out and make sense after 12 months. I do not have 12 months, and so I am going to have to pass on this. I am going to have to focus on making sure that my children's school fees is paid, that my commitments are honored, and then maybe next summer when one child has graduated and I only need one child's school fees, we might be able to look at it. You know, when I finished speaking, the first friend was like, you know, that's one of the reasons why I respect you so much, because I hadn't thought about it that way. And when I said that, the second friend also sat and she thought about, actually, I thought that I could raise 5,000. Thinking about it, really, I can't. I can only do 1,000. I can only do 1,000 because we also have uniforms and we have a kid who is getting ready for A-levels who would require investments, and I hadn't thought about it yet. You have to think about yourself. It's not every good idea that's good for you, you know. It's not every good suggestion that is good for you. You have to frame advice. Is the advice qualified? And on this occasion, my friend's advice is very qualified. She knows what she's talking about. Is she intelligent? Hell yes, she is intelligent. She really understands investments. And yes, if I follow that advice, in 12 months' time, I would make money. But I would jeopardize a lot of valuable things, important things to me in that decision to go and make money. So yes, making money, securing assets is very good for her because she does not have the same pressures that I have to maintain. And so I've got to listen to her advice, and I've got to frame that advice to my circumstances and make sure that the decisions I'm making will serve me. That's what you need to do. You don't just listen to advice willy-nilly. Such a body was living in his car when he started his business. Yeah, he was living in his car as a single man. He did not have a place to live as a single man. Well, I'm sorry. Going homeless to live in your car is not an option for those of us who have already chosen to have families. You cannot go homeless willingly with your kids. You cannot. Austerity. There is a certain level of austerity that one sole adult can do. There is a certain level of austerity you shouldn't even ask your partner to do. It's unfair for you to even require it of your adult partner. No, you should not gamble your rent so that you can put somebody else and the accommodation security in question. No, you should not. That is irresponsible. That is unfair. You can only make those decisions when you are on your own and it does not affect other people. The minute you have other people in your systems, you should not. You really shouldn't. And that's why those of us with families have to be extra careful around some of the decisions we make. Yes, I for one know exactly what I need to do to make money. I have known it for a long time. I haven't done it because I know what it will cost the other people in my life. I know that me personally, I have no problems toughing it out. I could brave it. I can eat scraps, it doesn't bother me. I can eat scraps, it does not bother me. But asking my husband and the children to eat scraps alongside me because I have decided I can eat scraps is unfair. Because those three may not know how to eat scraps the way I do. And so my business strategist is like, why won't you make this move? I'm not ready to make it. But why? My family systems make it difficult for me to make this move. In the same way that I couldn't take the £15,000 that my friend was requesting this summer. I couldn't. I simply couldn't. It's the same way that I couldn't even take the $5,000 this person is asking to run a certain amount of ads, to achieve a certain, there's a studio here who require 10,000 dirhams, and if I paid 10,000 dirhams, they would set things up and do this, and I would have how many episodes of a podcast set and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know. All those things are wonderful. They will be very helpful to my business. Don't get me wrong. They will be, I know. However, not for me, not for right now. They are good advice. But when you frame it in your wider context, it clarifies what makes sense for you to do and what doesn't make sense very quickly. Only qualified advice, framed tightly to your context. So Les Brown brought the only qualified advice, only qualified people, OQP. Yeah. But we have to take it one step further. OQP, only qualified people. Yes, Les Brown is very qualified as a motivation speaker, and he should be able to give me advice because I want to be a motivational speaker. I am a younger version of what he is. He is qualified to advise me. My professional mentor has been where I have been very qualified to advise me. My tutors and mentors and coaches, very qualified in their areas of expertise to advise me. But it is not every advice they give, qualified or otherwise, that I should take. You know why? Because I need to take that advice and frame it within my context. That's the thing. You've got to frame it. When you see something which is working really well for Amamanson, frame it in your context and see if it fits your context. You speak to single women who run businesses. You make your decisions. You are the ultimate. Okay. A lot of those women are single for that reason. If you really want to do business, and you really want to do business and do it properly, you answer to nobody. You answer to nobody. Yeah, if you answer to nobody consistently for a period of time, you will be single. Because the whole principle of a relationship is that you trade companionship for some accountability to somebody else. Yeah. I am an adult. But as much as I'm an adult, I am somebody's wife. I owe that somebody at least some explanation. I owe that somebody at least some information. I have to tell that somebody some of the things that typically an adult doesn't need to explain to another. I need to tell that somebody why I'm emptying my own bank account to go and do certain things in September, because that somebody and I are both accountable for school fees. And if I choose to go and empty my bank account right now, it will have ramifications for that somebody. So yes, I do owe him. He's not my dad. But by choosing to be in a relationship with that person, if I finish work, Friday when I finished work, I went to the hospital. And on my way to the hospital, I completely forgot to tell my people where I was. An hour into it, all three of them were WhatsApping me to find out if I was okay. It's not like you not to be here at this time. It was not an act of control. It's an act of concern. It was against my normal behavior. So they wonder, it's a long drive from the house to school. Could something have happened? Did I need help? Yeah. Because these people are in my life and I'm sharing my life with these people, I owe them an explanation. Yeah, I do owe them an explanation. I'm going to explain. Tonight, I am not coming home. Why? Because I have an appointment with the ophthalmologist. It is an hour after work, but it makes sense. No, it doesn't make any sense to drive for an hour home and turn around and come back. So I'm going to go sit in a cafe or maybe even stay in school and see what happens. And then I would go to the appointment and I will be back. Yeah. I owe these people an explanation. Why? Because I'm doing life with them. That is against my fundamental rights as an adult human. It is. But by the decisions I have made, that's how I have made it. Got such a deep throat. Got mucus sitting in my lungs. Yo. Anyway, I have arrived. I hope in this conversation I have done justice to my intentions. My intention was to share with you the fact that you cannot take advice without qualifying it. But it's not even every qualified advice that you can take. Sometimes even qualified advice, when not framed carefully, could be detrimental. Good morning. Qualified advice without adequate framing can still be detrimental. When you see somebody telling you what to do, you need to look at that person carefully and compare them to you. Are they very similar to you? If a guy is giving career advice, you can't take it, because a guy doesn't get pregnant. Society doesn't have the same parental responsibility for a guy. So a guy in his 20s who's looking to get married and have children is expecting that his wife would be the primary caregiver. And his career continues. So you cannot work on the same timelines with a guy. No. Yeah. A single woman running a business and her expectations of how things need to go cannot be your own timetable when you're a married woman. Somebody who comes from an inheritance will have a whole different perspective from you who needs to scratch from the bottom. So take advice, but frame it accurately. I've arrived, so I've got to go. We'll speak in a bit. Bye.